Good evening and welcome back to Real Adult Wisdom. I'm your host, Becky Schaefer, and I want to welcome my guest, Solari, back. We're enjoying these weekly deep conversations, right?
Yes. Right, aren't we? Right?
We are. We are.
We are. It's been great. This is our third time meeting and kind of, we're really in the groove and starting to get into more of the meat of things. So I'm excited.
I know. I love this. Before we get started on the show today, though, I need to do a shout out to Pete, who was on my show last week. I got his book today in the mail, and I am like ecstatic to read this. So I just shout out to every author out there working their tails off, because I'll tell you what, this is
Yeah.
not for the faint.
No, that's for sure. You definitely have to be passionate about it and work through a lot of your own obstacles and work through putting yourself out there. So yeah, kudos to him and everyone.
Yeah, so thank you, Pete. I'm excited to read your book. So today we're going to talk about why so many driven people are secretly suffering. And I had to really think about this one for a minute, because ambition can be a coping mechanism.
Hmm.
And many of us were taught to achieve our way into worthiness, to produce
Yes.
our way into, safety. So we become leaders and healers and entrepreneurs and top students, pushing ourselves to excel while abandoning our own bodies and our inner child in this process. And beneath all this applause is often anxiety and emotional exhaustion, loneliness, and a deep longing to be seen beyond what we do. And boy, oh boy, that right there hits me a little bit. And
Yeah.
we've learned that suffering doesn't always look like a struggle. It can look like success. And our work invites people to finally exhale and feel
Hmm.
again, and then begin the sacred undoing of everything they thought they had to be.
Exactly. Yes.
I just did this thing on exhale and inhale actually on the other day about how writing is my exhale, and then when I come back to it, it's like inhaling because I just got it all out. And
Right.
this fits it.
Definitely does. Definitely does. Yes.
Yeah. Because we don't often associate suffering with success, but we should. Because most people chase success as if it's supposed to feel smooth and effortless and full of confidence. But the truth is, the real adult wisdom, that is,
Definitely.
every version of success requires you to survive a version of yourself first.
Mm. Yes, it does. I love that so much. And you hit on a lot there that as you were speaking, I'm kind of thinking of my own journey getting just here and then imagining, how I want to keep moving forward years down the road, maybe the rest of my life. But the struggles are so real. And the thing is, suffering does not discriminate. So you can be one of the most
Mhm.
successful people around on the block, right? But you still suffer in your own ways. And I think for me, the big ones are still wanting some validation, looking for encouragement. Particularly when you mention loneliness, I think
Mm.
it's a great thing to be a healer. I know a lot of other healers. I know a lot of other intuitives and psychics and people kind of in the business, as they say. And one of the things that many of us struggle with is loneliness, particularly the clients who I work with who are executives and CEOs themselves. And I don't think they get enough credit for the quiet spaces and in the times when you're just kind of pounding things out at 1 a.m., 3 a.m. in the morning and wondering if all of this is going to work and maybe questioning your sanity. But I've said before, I think you have to have a certain level of delusion to really speak your truth in a world full of lies. And so we keep going, but that doesn't mean sometimes that we're
Yes.
not suffering and that we don't need this exhale that you're talking about, right?
Well, yeah, because we have learned early on that the fastest way to feel valued was to do.
Right. And the faster you can do it, even better, right?
Yeah, because that'll get your approval. It makes you feel useful, needed, impressed. Maybe you're low maintenance because you're getting everything done. So we kind of achieve our way into worthiness, and we produce our way into safety, but yet we strive our way into belonging. And,
Mm.
from the outside, we look confident, have leadership skills, capability, strength, but on the inside, there's a lot of anxiety, emotional exhaustion, loneliness. I'm going back to that again, and a
Mhm.
deep longing for someone to see us for who we are, not what we do. And I think last week we talked about like, who are you? So I
Right.
think, a lot of people they get caught up in that. Here I am because of what I do, but not who I am.
Right. Right. Not who I am. And so, how do we integrate that? How do we integrate what we've done with who we are? And I think that's a big struggle a lot of us deal with. And I'd like to ask you, Becky, what's your advice on how to do that? How have you been able to integrate all of that?
Well, it's a good thing that you asked this question.
Yeah.
Because I try to reframe a lot of this because I've already built everything, but I have gone through like spurts of loneliness, whether it's,
Hmm.
you know, not building a life with someone, whether it's becoming an empty nester, whether it's, going to work and knowing like you're working your butt off and doing all this stuff and nobody sees you. Right. Um,
Yes.
and so it's like you have all this suffering, but it's reframing. So I'm going to go into reframing again. Okay. Because,
Hmm.
um, it's like this 1% shift method in your head, where you're setting one boundary at a time, one conversation at a time, one habit at a time, one thought at a time. Um, and this one kind of hits deep a little bit because we have to encourage ourselves every day that nothing about suffering makes us less worthy. Everything about us is making us heal and feel more powerful. And I guess for me personally, I do want to say that because I am a driven person, it does create a loneliness at times because I'm so busy working on stuff that I do miss, like events or going out and doing things with friends or um, gatherings, because I'm like in a time crunch. But I think we have to go back to the reframing. And I'm
Hmm.
going to continue to always go back to this reframing.
Hmm.
Of course, I'm going to call this a tool. Okay. Um, Pause and breathe. So there's times that I need to pause and breathe, and I need to realize that tomorrow I can be replaced. And I had to look at that too. Like, you know what? Tomorrow anybody can go and replace me at my job. So am I really that worthy to where I have to give up who I am and not setting my boundaries? Because tomorrow
Hmm.
they could replace me and it's not going to matter. I'm just going to be their past, right?
Hmm.
Then you need to name the story that you're telling yourself and ask if this story is based on fear or truth. And then rewrite the story based on facts, not wounds. And then you have to
Mm.
choose the next small action step for that. And what does it give you? It's a way to stop the emotional, I call it reactivity,
Hmm.
and get your empowerment back a little bit. I moved, and when I moved, I'm doing a little bit more in the job here in North Carolina. There's more expected for a hell of a lot less pay. And um,
Yeah.
it was very frustrating at first and kind of lonely at first because you're in your own little world. Um, but I'm also a high achiever, and I obviously work with gifted kids as well. And I think when you're a high achiever, you put yourself on this pedestal almost that you have to achieve certain things. But honestly, at the end of the day, if you're doing your job, nobody cares like how spectacular your fireworks, went off, like, because nobody even saw the fireworks.
Wow. Right.
Like, so
Exactly.
I've had to really sit with this a little bit, and I really had to sit with um, how many of us were taught to achieve our way into worthiness. But, you know, you are worthy. You're worthy
Mm-hmm.
every day you get up and put your feet on that ground.
Right. Worthy just for being, which is a big thing I've struggled with. I always thought, well, I'll put it this way, right? This is Thanksgiving week and
Yes.
I'm taking it off, right? It's a holiday. I won't see clients again till Saturday. But there's this part in my nervous system that's like, okay, you're not seeing clients for 5 days. What's going on here? You're not producing. You're not transforming over and over. You're not changing lives all week long. And so I think it's just a part that's wired in us that, I mean, I'll be honest with everyone. I wrote a book and I'm doing this whole business, but I still struggle because I
Ooh,
am human. I am
yes.
human. And like you said, I think in the first episode, one of the big things was just really realizing that it's okay to be human and we don't have to be perfect to move forward and do
Yeah.
these things. In fact, it's what makes us most relatable and it's what helps us see ourselves in others and others see themselves in us. But even then, it's hard. It just that kind of programming sort of takes over. So I think it's very important when you talk about kind of restructuring everything and I
Yes.
have to stop. I have to stop and sit with myself. I like to look myself in the mirror sometimes and just be like, look, place my hand on my heart space or just tap my
Hmm.
heart space because the truth lies in the heart space and energetics, and just tell myself I'm right where I need to be. I don't have to produce to be worthy. Just let it breathe for a little bit,
And you can
right?
rest without feeling guilty.
And rest is essential. Rest is so
Yes.
important. Yes.
But for some
So, yeah.
overachievers, I'm going to
We
speak for
don't rest.
myself. I'm like, what's rest? Rest feels dangerous, when your
Mhm.
nervous system is so trained to stay alert, because that's really what it is at the end of the day. And so stillness can
Right.
feel like a laziness, or saying no feels like failure. So like all you're doing is helping people and giving and doing this, right? And then this creates
Right.
this internal war. The body's begging for rest, but the mind is terrified to slow down.
Yeah, and the soul is screaming out to you to not forget it, right?
Right. Don't
Yeah.
forget me.
Don't forget me. I'm still in here somewhere. And I think that um it's finding a good balance between what we offer to the outside world and what we offer to each other. But we have to give that same to ourselves. Like I had to sit down one day
Yes.
and say to myself, how do I overachieve for me?
Right.
How do I finally
Yes.
overachieve for myself? How do I take all of that energy and that fire and that flame that I would throw at everything else to get that done? And how do I apply all of that to myself? And what does that look like? And I think the process for me really began with coming truly into alignment with my purpose and with my blueprint and really sitting with myself and finding out what that is. And luckily for me, it's been able to lead me away from jobs that were kind of just where no one was seeing my fireworks, so to say, and bringing me here into doing my own thing, by way giving permission for me to make it a full-time job to overachieve for myself now.
Ooh,
That's a
I'm
whole
proud of you,
different
because that's,
animal. It feels a lot
yeah, I'm proud of you. That's a tool, that's a
yes,
tool.
thanks.
That's, you just named a pattern. That's one of my tools, by the way. Name the pattern. You just did that.
Patterns.
You start by
Yeah.
identifying the common human experience, right? And this is where
Yep.
you kind of feel seen, because you can finally do it. So it's like, you're like, here's what happens for so many driven people. Or you might notice yourself doing this without realizing it. But this invites self awareness, which is what you just did. Self awareness without shame, without guilt. I have to learn this too, because trust me,
Definitely.
there's not a day that doesn't go by that I'm not writing or doing
It's hard.
something. And then normalizing the experience.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
trauma informed teaching removes blame, right? So this step lowers your defenses so people can take in the tool. So, like, nothing's wrong with you. This is a normal response, but we always feel safe if we're continuing to learn and doing things. And I don't know, I personally just want to be a big blob on the couch and watch movies all day and eat popcorn and milk duds. But then I feel lazy.
Yes. And then you feel guilty about it because you think, well, what did I get done? But what you did get done, what we need to point out here for, I want everyone listening or watching to realize, when we do take that time, what we're really doing is overachieving for ourselves, giving back to our
Mm-hmm.
nervous system, helping us
Yes.
to recover, helping us to feel safe, helping us to remember who we are in the moments when we're not constantly working at or for other things and people. So I think that's such a valuable thing, especially in the Western world and our capitalism and everything like that. I mean, if you look at other parts of the world, Europe takes their siesta in the afternoons, right? Or
Yeah.
whatever it is, and they have break in the middle of the day. For what? To go home and to rest and relax and to be with family and to charge up and then come back and deliver what you do to society and to your community. But I really think it's okay to give ourselves permission to do that. In fact, it's important that we do, because once we start missing all of that, we start losing ourselves and our own
Mm-hmm.
center, and we're just caught up. If I speak energetically, we're caught up in everybody else's energy and mission and goals, and we are
Right.
not nurturing our own.
And you're depleting yourself.
Yes, yes. And it could be, um that's when things can really start to get kind of overwhelming and kind of things start unraveling, and then next thing you know, you're looking at a sacred undoing or a why not me concept moment. But also, I think these things are meant to happen for us at different times in our lives,
Mm-hmm.
and it's important to always kind of have that check in and that check back with ourselves. I think there's a revolution that needs to happen in people taking back their time.
Oh, absolutely.
Hmm.
So you're
Hmm.
kind of shifting your motivation a little bit. I'm going to go into that. I'm going to do a core connection
Yes.
on I'm going to do a core connection on what you just talked about, of course, with why not
Yes.
me. So we all feel like we have to earn our worthiness, but you don't have to earn your way to worthiness. You get to step into it. And I think that's a lot of people feel like they have to earn it by doing this or doing that, but you're just stepping into it. That's the overachieving, right?
Hmm.
For others or for yourself comes from the old why me mindset. So I'm going to go to the
Hmm.
why am I never enough? Why do I have to work this hard?
Hmm.
Why am I always chasing myself? Why do I only feel valuable when I'm producing? And the why not me shift, this is where your shift comes to interrupt this cycle. Well, why not me being enough right now without proving anything? Why not me achieving from expansion instead of fear?
Hmm.
Or why not me choosing uh, gentleness over pressure? Because I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves. And definitely overachieving is rooted in survival.
Hmm. Yes, yes, definitely. And
Yeah.
yeah, with survival. So, and survival is essential. It's something we need. People might be looking at us and saying, well, it's easier said than done. I mean, I have this job that I hate, but I got to stay in because I got to pay for the things that I decided to sign up for and get, houses, cars, all the things
Oh, those things.
and all the things. And it can be so overwhelming. It can make you feel like you're stuck. But I think that's an essential part of the pause and the exhale, so to say, and the time on the couch eating, snacks and watching Netflix. um, Somewhere in your psyche, it gets a chance to relax and come back to yourself, and you can really evaluate, is all of this really what I want? And is this true for me?
Mm-hmm.
And if it's not, and if you know that you need to make some changes, you start making little changes, one little thing at a time, just like little drops in a bucket, until eventually you get to a place where everything around you now supports who you are, supports your nervous system, Now, this could mean that you might have to make some major changes or major sacrifices and really look within and ask yourself, does this settle with me and is this okay? But you can create your life in a way that supports your alignment without having to have all of the check boxes that most
Mm-hmm.
overachievers do. Is there a certain level of sacrifice? Yes, but sacrifice is an essential element of every magical process.
So basically, what you're saying is shifting the source. So stop treating worthiness as something you get from other people. It has to come from within you. Otherwise, it's always going to be conditional. And
1000%.
and something we have to ask ourselves, like, whose voice am I trying to impress, when, or avoid disappointing? Like, whose voice is that we're hearing? Because
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
worthiness actually grows when you reclaim your inner authority.
Mm-hmm.
Your voice you should be listening to, not somebody else's. So now we're getting to rebuilding your inner voice. So your inner
Yes.
critic isn't really you. It's
No.
old programming. It's somebody
Yes,
else's
it
voice.
is.
And then worthiness grows when you replace that voice with
Mm-hmm.
truth. And
Mm-hmm.
so, like, if you're listening, when you hear that harsh voice, answer with the kinder one every single time. Like,
Mm-hmm.
answer yourself with a kind voice. Don't hear that voice yelling at you or telling you all the negative things. You have no critic, no critic.
Yes. And what I had to do really when I was in the throes of the beginning of this and starting to move into this new season where I am in alignment is really question that voice, argue with it.
Mm-hmm.
I would have these pre-programmed ideas and self-limiting beliefs come up about something. First of all, let's talk about where these come from. Comes from your family, comes from
Mm-hmm.
the school system, comes from the government, comes from religious belief systems. So all of these systems that we've gotten placed down in this third dimensional experience that aren't truly purely in alignment with who we really are. We're kind of just dropped into it and then we absorb it all and pick it up and everything. And then so when I was going through this process, I was really like debating. And maybe this was part of why I was questioning my sanity here and there, but really, so say a thought would come up that um maybe, well, you can't do that because that's not a safe thing to do. Well, you can't do that, or you're not good enough to do that, or something like that, or it just won't work that way for you. And then I would start to question it. And I would say, why not? And why are you telling me this? And what facts
Right.
is this based off of? Because many times what the brain does, it is survival. It's designed to help us survive, but that is the same brain function that we had back when we were cave people. Okay? We are no longer having to be in hypervigilance every moment of our lives because we don't know what saber-toothed tiger is going to come up behind us. Like that's not the world that we that's not the world we live in anymore. And so we have to really work with the reprogramming in the brain. This is a lot of what I do in my sessions, and I'm healing, but I'm constantly talking to my clients, giving them
Mm-hmm.
the new programming, telling them what's in high alignment for who they are and what they're trying to bring back to themselves, because magic happens in the mind. And so, and we've talked about what magic is before, just changing something from a lower substance to a higher grade substance. So if we're doing this for you, we're changing
Mm-hmm.
you from a lower vibration to a higher vibration. We really do have to look at that programming and question it and question everything. This is hard for many of us who have been taught not to question.
Right. Oh, and you were just talking about the systems, and I've been in the education world now for 28 years.
Yeah.
And it's a very frustrating system because we are literally putting kids, almost teaching them that they are either worth being in gifted classes, they are worth being in math one, they are worth being in the advanced English class by a test score. But that
That
same
kills me.
kid, but that same kid
Kills me.
could go build a brand new engine in a car.
Thank you. Thank you, Becky. And I appreciate you saying that as an educator for so long. And I get excited about this right now because I
Mm.
actually started homeschooling my son about a year ago. He has dyslexia. They placed him in special education. He had to get pulled from class to go work on it. And he just wasn't getting what he needed. And it just
Yeah.
felt like making him fit that mold was not honoring his alignment and who he truly is. And I decided to pull him out. This was also when I left corporate and was working on my own business. So I had the luxury to be able to pull him out. But this is when I pulled him out, and I wanted to do it before they taught him how to forget who he really is. And that makes me emotional right here because,
Uh,
you know,
well,
that's something
it
that,
programs nervous systems too. So like,
yes,
and we wonder why we have so much anxiety, or, we just say, here's a computer. You need to do this or do that or do that. I'm just, I could do a whole podcast on all of this. However, I work with I work with great staff who bust their butts every day, but still at the same time, your hands are tied when you've got state standards and state test scores, and it puts a lot of pressure on these kids. And
well, yeah,
so we're programmed to almost feel like we're from starting preschool on, you're programmed, if you like, yay, you get an award for that because you just went potty, or now like, yay, now we have kindergarten graduation. What? Like my
I
kids
know.
had a cap and gown for kindergarten graduation, for God's sakes. I
Yes.
was like, this is ridiculous. Like, we're rewarding you because you just did what you're supposed to do. And
Yeah,
then there's like this eighth grade big graduation. I'm like, okay, you just did what you're supposed to do. It's
right.
almost like doing a honor roll every. People probably disagree with me, but every grading period, we're gonna have some big honor roll party because the kid just got A's and B's. Okay, good, you just did what you're supposed to
Mm-hmm.
do. But what about the
Mm-hmm.
kids that just worked their butt off so hard and got
Just to get a
C's,
C. I know. Yep.
but they don't get rewarded? They have to sit in a classroom and do whatever, while all the kids get to go to this award assembly. So a kid who works their butt off and gets C's is now going to feel not worthy because their classmates who get to go to the honor roll place and get donuts and awards and whatever, and yay,
Mm-hmm.
good for you.
Mm-hmm.
But this kid could probably go out and God knows what they can do. I mean, like, build a car engine, give a good haircut. I don't know,
Yeah.
fix your air conditioning, do things that, like, some of these other kids probably be some of the best engineers out there. But yet we put them on this pedestal. So, yes, we are programmed early on. And then you add family dynamics to that, depending
Mm.
on a situation or trauma,
Mm-hmm.
or getting yelled
Mm-hmm.
at, or never being good enough, or you got to follow this path because everybody in your family went straight to college and then got a
Yep.
job and worked until they retired. Therefore, you got to be on this path, and you've got to be programmed. And
Yeah.
yeah, so it puts people into overthinking almost every situation, and then feeling guilty for resting, or feeling guilty for taking a pause, maybe on a career, or something in their life. And
Yes. Yes. And just living life.
yeah, we
Yeah.
are programmed by a belief system we did not choose.
Sign up
We didn't
for.
we did not choose our first beliefs. We inherited them.
That's exactly right. We absorb them, right? Probably
Yes.
from our parents and the people closest to us. I also want to give a shout out to good old religious trauma too. If you're someone who if you're someone who grew up in a belief system that's not in alignment for who you are, that's really
Mhm.
scary too. That
Mhm.
can be a big hurdle because especially if you were programmed with the whole, sinning and heaven and hell type of thing, and going against beliefs that
Mhm.
were already put in your place, and if you don't do this, well, you're gonna go to hell. I mean, it's just so ridiculous to me now. I've had such a long journey with my own belief system. I was raised Catholic, and in my first marriage married in the Catholic Church, and and all of that. And then
Mm.
by the time we got divorced, they had me believing that I was going to go to hell because I didn't do my job as a wife, right? So I think there, and that was a big red flag for me. That was another awakening moment that I had in undoing, so to say, and really questioned this entire thing that I had based my whole life off of, this belief system. So it's starting there. It's looking
Yes.
at where your programming has come from, right?
Oh, yeah. And that's, you know, so if many of you out there are wondering why you overthink, overachieve, or shut down, or stay silent, or feel
Mm-hmm.
like you have to earn everything, that's not your personality. It's programming. Um, and the most powerful part is programming is learned, so it can be unlearned. You can always unlearn anything you've learned, but
Said the teacher.
that's where my why not me shift comes in, by the
Perfect.
way. So, like, why not
Yes.
why not rewrite the script? Why not choose new patterns? Why not learn a new way
Mm-hmm.
to exist in your body? Why not
Mm-hmm.
healing the parts that were learned to survive instead of drive? And I had to do all of those.
Ooh,
You know, I
yes.
had to learn. I had to heal the parts of me that learned to survive instead of thriving to move forward. I was just like surviving and just moving one step at a time. It was a
Mm-hmm.
survival step. Now I'm
Mm-hmm.
freaking skipping a whole freaking floor of steps. I'm like, yeah, let's go.
Right.
Because once you realize you're not broken, you know, then patterns can change the moment you become aware of them. It's no different than like, okay, I'm gonna get up today and I'm gonna drink like 2 things of water. I'm gonna improve drinking water. Like, I'm actually really
Mm-hmm.
doing this. Okay, I did it.
Good.
Great. So this will become like a healthy pattern, right? So I'm gonna
Mm-hmm.
work
Mm-hmm.
out, or I'm gonna give a compliment to somebody today just to make them feel good. Like, why not? So you're just we react from old programming, we react from childhood patterns, we react from the environment we're raised in, and we kind of almost become on this like autopilot conditioning, and
Mm-hmm.
that's where our identity has come from, that's where our survival has come from. But
Mm-hmm.
once you are aware of this, then you can actually change those patterns.
Yes.
But
And it really starts with questioning all of it and asking why and where and how did I end up with all of this? Because you're right, so many of us just get conditioned on autopilot. And the thing is, nobody teaches us to do this process, to ask these questions, to take an assessment of our lives and our own self inquiry, right? That I talked about before.
yes,
And I think that it is a sacred process, it's a holy process, it's something that we all need to have permission to do and also be supported if we come to the conclusion that, oh, you know what? I need to change some things. And then
hmm,
that's a whole nother undoing process
right, because it's
from within
uncomfortable.
yourself. Right. And there's fear and there's shame and there's also a lot of these shadow aspects that then you have to start dealing with
Hmm.
to, because it does take healing. It takes
Oh,
healing to get through this. And healing
yes.
is terrifying, brutal, and magnificent and magical all at the same time.
Oh,
Right?
it is because people think awareness feels like, oh, yay, I have this clarity and peace now. Oh, hell no. You know,
No.
you might have it in spurts at a time, but the first
Yeah.
feeling is often like confusion or grief or anger or embarrassment, or how did I not see this? Like, how did I not see how I was being treated all these years? Or, why have I lived like this for so long? So
Right.
awareness shakes your whole foundation. It's like an earthquake happening under your feet because you're suddenly aware of what you accepted, tolerated, believed, programmed, whatever, we want to say these
Hmm.
and that was never yours, you know, and the discomfort's not failure, it's awakening. It's awakening.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is. Oftentimes, the breakdown is the breakthrough, as they say. it's just really coming to a place to give yourself permission to do this. And that means that as an overachiever who gets burnt out and all of these things, I say this with love. And as one of the top overachievers in my circle, you've got to stop. You've got
Hmm.
to take a moment to stop. I do want to shout out, though, we do have our own blueprints, our own makeups, right? I don't know. Have you ever heard of human design, Becky?
Hmm.
So in human design, and for people out here who don't know much about it, it's I call it the master system of our divine blueprint because it involves astrology, numerology, Kabbalah, the chakra system, and all of these things. And you kind of get a master blueprint of how you're meant to kind of move and function in this life so you can live in your divine purpose and true form. And so there's different
Mm.
types in human design, and there's generators and manifesting generators. And I just want to say there's 5 types altogether, but most people are generators or manifesting generators. I'm not trying to make
Mm.
this an episode about human design, so I'm just going to leave it there.
That can be next
But
week.
oh, I'd love it. I love it. So, and I would bet, so I'm a pure generator, and I would bet, Becky, that you're probably either a generator or a manifesting generator. Those are the primary types
Mm.
running around in society. And so it's in our nature for a lot of us to be generating, going, producing, creating,
Hmm.
kind of just burning up that energy that we naturally have, which is great. But, and we do need to live in that and honor it, but we also need to know what it means to complement that. So it can be possible for us to perform in the best ways. And that does involve rest, and it involves internal work, and it involves doing the work to remove a lot of our own blockages
Mm.
so that we can really step into that kind of type and function. So I just want to give credit to, yeah, some of us are just built to be this way. We're just built to be overachievers, but it's having that intricate understanding of what it means to care for ourselves as such.
Yes.
Yeah. So there's just my little tangent.
No, I mean, that's honestly a great tangent because, yes, I like to manifest things for sure.
Right.
Man, we could go so much deeper on this, but like we're out of time.
Again,
It
keeps
is,
happening to us.
it's crazy how fast this goes. It really
Does.
is. Man, this was so good though. But, like the moment you become aware, like as we wrap this up tonight,
Yeah.
I just want you guys to remember this. Like awareness isn't about, blaming yourself for the life you've lived. We blame ourselves too much for things that we've gone through. It's about finally understanding the life that you're capable of creating. That's why we go through all this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
so that
Mm-hmm.
we can realize that we're capable of creating. Like we weren't born with a manual. It was just kind of like, here's your life. Good
Yeah.
luck, you know.
Right. Yes.
And it's like you're not broken, you're not behind, you're not too late. You're simply becoming aware. And this is something I have to remind myself of a lot. Okay. And, awareness is power. Every pattern you've repeated, every survival strategy you've
Yep.
carried, every moment, whether it's small or unseen or unworthy, those were programs, not punishment.
Yeah.
And tonight you took one step out of autopilot and you put one step into authorship because you listened to us, of course. And
Yes.
and we can dig a lot deeper into this. But one thing I would love is questions. I've had so many questions like on my book and stuff that I would love to have some questions just on these podcasts because we will sit here and answer them next week at the beginning. And I think this is something that's worth continuing also.
I totally agree. I think there's so many directions that we can go in talking about this process, uh, because there's a lot of parts to it, and it's difficult to kind of put words to it. So I really
Mm.
appreciate how we're able to kind of just sit down and have these what I feel like are channeled conversations,
Oh,
right? Just
yes.
information that's coming through that needs to be delivered. And so I really enjoy being in this space with you and with the audience, and I'm just looking forward to more of it. And please give us your
Yes.
questions. That way we can really have a conversation around these things. And you probably have questions that a lot of people out here do have, so don't be afraid to send them. Yeah.
Oh no, plus I don't tell people your names
Oh,
at all.
yeah.
I don't tell people
Anonymous.
names when I do that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I do want to say to our listeners, be gentle with yourself,
Mm.
be proud of yourself, and remember you don't have to earn the right to become who you're meant to be. Why not you? Why not now? Why not this moment being the one that changes everything? Thank you for being here. Thank you for choosing yourself. And thank you for letting us walk this part of your journey this evening. Everyone, have a great evening. Thank you for listening to Real Adult Wisdom.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. I got to find the stop button.